Up here.
Regarding the meetings from our last meeting, August 10th, we have a motion or comments?
I'll move to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I have a second.
All those in favor to approve the minutes of August 10th?
Aye.
Unanimous. Do we have any public comments at all? Okay. Move on to new business. I'm sorry, roll call.
Commissioner Carey,
Here.
Commissioner Velasco,
Here.
Commissioner Chair Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Molina,
Here.
Commissioner Batterson.
Here.
Now we'll move on to new business.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioners, good afternoon. So we are bringing an item to you. Several years back, the commission set up a grant-making fund where groups could approach the city, well, the commission specifically, and ask for support for a project that they're working on that somehow or another impacts or affects the department. Most of those projects, well, the project fund was set up specifically for capital, so you have to build something. There'd be the bricks and mortar component. The item tonight is for the commission to consider making a change to that from just bricks and mortar to also including other programmatic kinds of items. One of the motivations behind that was to, in taking on, with the council's adoption of the arts master plan, to add art to the possible areas that would be eligible for grants. And that's either, in the proposal, it would be either to purchase art or to commission artwork and make it part of the grant program. So a nonprofit could come forward and say, gee, you know, we really feel, you know, this art project is an important one. We'd like the commission to participate. So that's the proposal in a nutshell for you today, is to change from simply being capital project driven to opening it up to more of the program areas and the arts. Each application that's in your packet, you know, it asks the individual group to explain their project, what linkage it has to the department's goals, and then how they plan to either secure additional funding or provide their own funding to kind of move the project forward. So the main item here would be to changing the role, and then also to increase the amount that we allocate in our budget. Last year, no, 2 years ago, I think the commission moved up the value of the project. It was $10,000 originally that we would put away in the fund. And once that money was gone, it's gone for the year. It's driven by each of the fiscal years. We're asking that this year that the allocation go up to $15,000 a year. And then what we would do, well, Ryan would do in the budget would be to take those funds that are already budgeted and move $15,000 into the account specifically for this partnership program. And those are kind of the steps that we would take to get these things done. And I know that a couple of projects that we have done, I think maybe only Commissioner Velasco, maybe Commissioner Batterson was on when we did the Foursquare Church project, which was a playground project. We granted them the $10,000 to do their playground, which Ended up being a pretty successful project, huge playground, cost a lot more money than that. And it's right in the area around Robert Bruce School, and the facility is open to the public. So, you know, it kind of helped us out because that area was kind of landlocked from anything else, trying to get to Atkinson Park or Boys and Girls Club or anywhere else. You had several busy streets to have to cross. So that was a good partnership. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are right now. If you look through the grant guidelines, there's really not a lot of changes that we made. I don't think there were any changes to the actual guidelines themselves, other than those that I mentioned, being art, and that's now $15,000 would be the maximum. If a group doesn't want or doesn't need 15,000, they can certainly ask for less. You know, if they need more than 15,000, then they're going to have to find another source for their funding. And I'll leave it at that, and if you have any questions, we can talk about it.
Any comments, questions by commissioners?
Not for me.
Jim? Okay, I have one. Well, I'm very supportive of the programs and the examples that you gave, Alex. My concern is speaking to my constituents, there's a huge concern about the field still. I know it's a major project, but would that be taking away from such a project that the community has been waiting for so long? How does that affect?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it's such a minimal amount of money that it really isn't going to make or break any particular capital project that we move forward on.
Well, before you go on, let me ask this question.
Mhm.
If there's money left over from department funds, does that carry over to the following year? And if so, can it be moved toward a major capital project like that?
So capital project funds do move forward if they're not used or if the project doesn't move forward in that year. And that's probably what we would be looking at, moving this allocation from, or the increase, the $5,000 increase, because the $10,000, you know, theoretically already exists. So it would be taking from whatever we saved last year, move forward, and then Ryan would do a transfer to move it over. So, like I said, it's a small amount of money in the big picture. Big projects, I mean, you're usually talking, you know, at least $100,000 to kind of move a project forward on a renovation project. So, yes, there's an impact, definitely, but it wouldn't be significant. It wouldn't, I guess the easiest answer is it's not going to hold us out from doing anything that we want to get done. You know, we're still going to pursue those other projects.
And I mean, if I understand and remember, the point of this specific partnership grant is to try to have other agencies partnership with us. So that's why we reserve that money. And I don't know that any of those agencies or nonprofits that are looking for field space have necessarily applied for that, because it is a minimal amount of money. But if we're able to help us, a nonprofit with a smaller project, then that's really what this is designated for, in my
Correct.
understanding.
Correct.
So it's a matching fund type of project? So what's the matching percentage?
Matching
No,
funds.
it's not matching.
It's not,
I'm sorry, in the guidelines, matching fund programs get, if you submit an application with matching funds, it gets a higher rating, if it will, when the staff does the evaluation on it. But it's not required. It's nice to get them if you can expand those, but if, you know, that's our contribution, then, you know, that's what it is.
I'd like to see perhaps a matching percentage to encourage the community to come up with projects with the potential that the department will minimally match that amount, if maybe even more, if the project merits more funding, to consider that instead of just a grant, complete grant. My concern is for these projects that the community has been waiting so long for, to be able to see any funds carry over, and for us to try to complete those projects that we've been waiting for so long for.
Well, I don't have any objection to this moving forward as it is. I think it's helped us create those partnerships, and again, like Alex mentioned, I don't think it's hurting. It's such a small amount that it's not necessarily going to impact any large capital projects, especially like what you're mentioning. And I think it's served us well for our partnerships with the community, because it is a minimal amount, but it's enough to kind of push certain projects forward. So I'm going to motion to move that we approve this community partnership grants program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Okay.
The only thing, Paul, you probably read it as well, but it did specify that they would get more, it would be a little more weight on their application if they did have somebody to partner with, some other funding,
Okay.
matching funding. So
Correct.
it is listed in there.
Okay. Can we call to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you. The next item was a play board report, and I didn't know if Commissioner Velasco would like to do that. We did leave you
Sure.
some notes from the meeting.
Thank you, since I can't read my own writing. So Play Board met yesterday. We've had a good update into kind of our last budget cycle and planning for our operating budget for this next year, and we discussed that. One of the things that we're really hopeful for is to bring back some of those fundraisers that we're really known for, like a type of Taste of Mexico type event. We've had our concerts in the park, movies in the park, things of that. So if anybody has suggestions, we're always open to fundraising ideas. We did approve to become the fiscal agent for the Santa Maria Pickleball Club. And the reason being, that's a great example of a partnership in our community and that served the department well. And so they have some, small amount of donations and money coming in. And so we decided that we could serve as a fiscal agent, and Play will be doing that to kind of hold, their tournament fees and such. Play received 2 grants from the Santa Barbara Foundation for an outdoor education program, $5,000, and another $25,000 for the Presker Trailhead upgrades to the Santa Maria Levee Trail. So you'll start seeing those. And then also, we are looking for board members. So if anybody knows of anybody in their community, in their constituency, in their business networks, please let Alex or I know. We'd be happy to meet with them and explain what Play is. We have updated our bylaws and our board member committee kind of requirements and expectations. And so we're really looking to increase our membership because about half of us are terming out in the next year or so. So we definitely need to start succession planning there. We discussed changes to the city volunteer program, and I believe we've talked about it here at the commission level. So how the use of volunteers under 16 years of age is changing and what role Play could potentially play in that regard. And then there's going to be some marketing to encourage board member usage. So as we get, Cindy's going to work on that, and so hopefully we can pass that out to all of you. And then we have some events. You all have it here, the Patch Sponsor Night coming up. We have Active Aging Week coming up October 2nd through 8th. Battle of the Badges softball tournament in October. Dia de los Muertos. The partnership with Alps for the Haunted Hills. Turkey Trot, planning a car show November 27th. And then the light sites and holiday nights, Christmas tree lighting festivities. And again, that's all Play activities, but also with the great support of Rec and Park staff. I don't know if I missed anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you
Questions?
need us to RSVP for
I
this?
don't think so. I don't think it's for the patch RSVP, no.
No, you can just show up. Bring the kids, bring the friends, it's fine. It's really kind of to give the students a dry run on what it's going to be like to open the next day. So, and by the way, if you know of any college-age students that are interested, they are looking for someone to basically be the manager of, on Fridays at the Patch, and that's, I think it's 6 Fridays in a row. They'll be compensated for that. But if you know anybody who might be interested in making a little bit of side money, let me know.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Move on to the age range standardizations.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you very much for reviewing the packet that we sent out last month and taking it back and listening to what you had stated in your request. We have revised the age ranges. Talking with the supervisors of the youth programs, the teen programs, and the senior programs, just delightfully called chronologically superior. We're going to switch it to seniors, but for the sake of the document, we added a little levity to it. But so we've come up with the following categories. It would be child under 6 years old, youth 6 to 11, teen would be 12 to 17. This young adult was the newest addition, which was 18 to 22, and then adults would be 23 to 64, and our chronologically superior would be 65 plus. We felt like this would meet all the needs for the department. Now, there is going to be a fiscal change, but it is minimized compared to the last one I provided you. It's not drastic, but there is a change in there. And this would be able to provide the data that we're looking for. I believe that's what Ileana what we had talked about earlier for grant writing, for demographic information. And then also would provide for the department's clarity and our public's clarity to understand what each of these age groups represents. So these most likely would go into effect probably beginning of the year at Los Flores Ranch Park and the swimming pool. And there's one other one. The weight room, the fitness facility at the Paul Nelson, at the Abel Maldonado Community Youth Center. So that's my proposal. I'm bringing it back in after your advice.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, we did take some of the input from the last meeting to kind of look at it a little bit differently. Some of these won't be, some of these age groups will be dictated by the program that's being offered. So, for a senior program, you're not going to have any of the other age groups affected. It's just going to be the seniors or the chronologically challenged.
Superior.
Yeah, on my report, it does say active aged, so 65 plus. But, it is, we do need to stabilize it. As I said, the motivation behind this is getting our fee structure in line, because our fee study will be done this year, so we want to make sure that we have our age groups broken the way we want them. So if this is something that you all agree to, what it would need is just a motion and adopting the staff report, and then we'll go ahead and start using these as our, in our planning for the future fees. Nothing will change, as Dennis said, until the year.
I'll make a motion to approve the age changes.
There you have a motion.
For the age range and
Standardization.
standardization across the board.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to number 7, Director Management Staff. A, budget update.
Good
Ryan?
afternoon. Budget-wise, we are doing well, we continue to do well so far. With 16.66% of the fiscal year, our department's under 1.48%. So we are doing well, watching our spending, making sure we're staying within line with our budgets. In regards to finance, they are currently looking at replacing the financial software we use. Currently, we use Eden. My understanding is it's going to be probably a year or so while they go through the process. They're going to look at several vendors that are possibilities to fill in and take the place of that. Over the next year, our department, I believe there's key members from our department, they'll be meeting with these companies along with other departments to see what might fit our needs as a whole, department-wise, and then with the other departments as well. So we'll be part of that process. Hopefully, they're saying that they could have the new software up and running within 2 years. So that's the goal on there, and so that'll be exciting. Moving away from Eden, which has gotten a little old in the way it operates, similar to how we did with Active and moving from Class. The other thing I was informed from finance is that they're going to be working on the 2-year budget this September. So now, hopefully I'll get instructions soon and we'll start the process. I'll be meeting with Brett and Dennis to go over their division budgets and then work on the 2-year plan for the next budget cycle. The other thing I have to report on would be our COVID plan and our COVID policy. Risk has updated our policy, and as of October 1st, if you are to be considered vaccinated, you have to show proof and send proof of your vaccination down to Risk. And if there was to be an issue, if somebody was to be exposed or had symptoms, they would be treated as vaccinated. If they choose not to show their vaccination card or show proof of that, then they'll be deemed unvaccinated. They'll follow the protocol of somebody who is unvaccinated, whether they have been vaccinated or not. So the key is showing proof. And that goes into effect October 1st. So we're currently gathering as many copies of vaccination cards as we can. All the department staff has been notified, so hopefully we'll get a good portion of our staff turning in those vaccination records. Over the last month, we've had 9 individuals who were on the COVID watch list. 8 of them have returned. We have 1 out remaining right now. Hopefully, he is being tested today. Hopefully, we'll get the results in the next day or so, and then we'll have a plan of action for his return. So COVID continues to be a factor in our daily lives, and looks like it will be for a few more months at least. So that's my report with budget and COVID. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the commissioners? No? Okay, let's move on.
So next up is noteworthy activities. If there's any questions on those, again, every month they continue to be busy. There's still things going on. Let us know if you have any questions or want any explanation on any of those items, and we can provide that.
Move on to director's report.
Thank you. Are you all getting the magazine from CPRS
Online.
online?
Yeah.
Online. So in this issue, they have some interesting things. They have a section on the benefits of nature, and one of the things that you may have heard Commissioner Velasco say earlier, we did get a grant from Santa Barbara Foundation to do an outdoor education program, and that's going to be based out at the Cabinet, Buena Vista Park. And so again, I like to say we're trending with what at least statewide standards are. So that'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. And then there's also an article in here on inclusion. And equity was the term they used. And something that we've talked about on the staff level, not only in our programming, but in also our service that we're kind of providing out in the community. I know the tree committee's talked a little bit about where the trees are in Santa Maria, and well, more specifically, where the trees are not, and then where they need to be as targets and goals for us. And then also, programmatically, where are our facilities? Are they in the right places? One of the things that we hope to do at your November commission meeting is to go out to those communities and kind of hear from them and have them tell us, are we serving that particular district well? Is there things that we need to improve? How do we reach particular pockets of populations? It's funny, one of the things that I've seen lately is kind of a result of the H-2A housing situation, the farm worker housing, where you have scores, probably hundreds, of young men coming into town, living in these dormitory facilities on Broadway, and providing that vital service to ag. Is that a group we should be looking at? I mean, right now I see them kind of roaming the streets, not in a negative way, but in order for them to get to the grocery store or whatever it is, they walk everywhere that they go, unless they're a contractor that's provides them a vehicle or provides them transportation, other than just to the job. But again, I don't have any idea how many those are. There's a developer, I may have mentioned this, maybe not, who plans to build a dormitory center, for lack of a better term, for how many hundred of people, Brett? 300, 400 people?
Yeah.
On the west side of town.
I don't remember the exact number, but it was large.
And building commercial warehouse buildings that would be temporarily outfitted to house farm workers. And when you look at the project, as we have, basically it's out in the middle of nowhere. Town is growing, but it's out in the middle of nowhere, and no services anywhere, probably within a mile, walking anyway, and no facilities, no recreational kind of facilities being provided. I would equate it to like a college dormitory kind of a setting, where you have a freestanding building and you have a lot of people living in it. You have communal eating facilities, but there's no communal recreation facilities. So we did meet with the developer, and we did tell them, that's something that they need to figure out something, at least provide some grass area for gatherings, barbecue outside, something. So again, it was just kind of a trend in this, excuse me, in this equity issue. Who are our customers? Commissioner Lee mentioned earlier about addressing the field needs. That's an equity issue. We got to figure out, where it is, how we're doing things. So the article, in any case, talks a little bit about transforming your mindset and how you look at these things. So if you have some time, you might look at those two articles on outdoor education and equity. We'll be looking at it. So, we'd like the commissioners to have some input on how that goes. And then next week I'll be at the NRPA conference in Tennessee, and those are one of the topics that Casey and I will be kind of looking at, is how equity works in some of these other areas of the country. So, yeah. That's really it. I mean, it's been kind of quiet. I was on vacation for a week, so that all went well. So I'm happy to come back and be here. We did give you a couple of other handouts. The CPRS District 8 award that we got for senior program, and a little thank you email from the Steinmetz family, Mr. and Mrs. Steinmetz. Thanking us for the pool and keeping it in operation during COVID. And I wanted to let you know, I got an email from Kelly White O'Neill, who's been involved in some nonprofits right now. She's out at Boys and Girls Club, and I guess she sent me an email that from her office, she could see all the trees on Railroad being cut down and she was very dismayed by that. And I think we mentioned at one of the meetings that PG&E decided that trees in cities are potential fire hazards for them, and they have the authority under Public Utilities Commission to remove those fire hazards. Brett and Scott met with PG&E and came up with kind of a, I don't know if a plan is the right word, compromise,
It's a compromise, yeah.
on which trees might be able to stay and which trees would have to go. Yeah, so the public is noticing. You also may have seen there was a little brief news story on the Bradley Square removing all the pine trees along Bradley Road as they were obstructing the view of their merchants. So they have replanted. I had a meeting with the Director of Community Development the other day, and we talked about that. We talked about, it was their opinion that they had no authority to prevent the removal. It was our opinion that we did. So there was some political pressure put upon them to just let them move ahead with the project. So that project moved ahead. But we've come to an agreement that we're going to try to address it via the ordinance. And Brett's been working with the tree committee on coming up with a new ordinance that addresses commercial trees, which right now we don't have authority over. But in the new proposal, it would be something that the commission would have authority to consider. And staff would, and then if there's any appeals, then they would bring those appeals to the commission for some resolution. So we're trying to get that rewritten, and community development's on board. They didn't have any issue with it. They just felt that, in their opinion, the way things were handled for this particular project, they didn't really have a choice. So, we got a little bit of airtime on KCOY about those removals and generated some comments from some people. So, yeah, it's out there. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, anyone? I have a question. I know when my kids were growing up, the outdoor schools were really big for sixth graders out in Orcutt. Is that for Santa Maria as well? Do they still also go out to Lake Cachuma?
It is, they are, yeah. It's run by the Santa Barbara Office of Education, so that's kind of been there. But I don't think they've, since the fire, I don't think they had outdoor school for a couple of seasons.
I just bought cookies for a sixth grader.
You did? Oh, cool.
That's raising funds
Oh.
to go, so.
Good,
I'm guessing they're starting up.
good, yeah, because it wasn't, for a while, it was shut down.
Yeah, I bring that up because I think Las Flores would be an ideal venue for it.
And actually, after the fire, we did have some classrooms come up. Of course, we're not set up for camping like overnights like they are, but we did have some groups come out and do a little bit of outdoor education there. Susan Tuttle out there made some arrangements with some of those schools. So yes, you're right, it is. And we'll be expanding our outreach efforts to try to get more groups out to Los Flores who can't afford to go on, because it's pretty expensive to go to camp for the week.
Yeah, and, if there are the resources or what the need, perhaps we might consider a different age group or just different circumstances. My other question is, I know on the collegiate level, the mobile rec is really big to where they create like a fit squad or rec squad, and they go out. In this case, in our city, we could maybe go out to seniors one week, teenagers another, but to go out throughout the city, you might go out to a corporation, just do a variety of recreation outreach. And I'm wondering if you've considered that.
Thank you. Yes, we have two groups that are going out for that type of activity right now. We call them pop-ups or rec squad. It's a nice, ugly orange van with soon-to-be nice, ugly matching orange uniforms, nice and bright so they can be seen. We focus right now on youth up to age 6, and then we'll have the separate teen pop-ups all have a physical component. some kind of physical activity, but usually we couple that with another activity because not everyone may be into the sport. So we'll usually do an art project, a science project, or something along those lines to coincide with the physical activity. We do not have that for seniors at the time. It's something to think about for the future. But definitely having, right now we have that going out 3 days a week for each age group. And we change, currently we're using city parks, and we will change that up every 6 to 8 weeks, which parks we're going to be at. So look for those signs.
Wonderful, thank you.
What, you ready for division reports? You want to go ahead and do your division report?
Sure.
While you're there?
Just would like to share with you some upcoming classes and programs that we're working on and are currently running. I look at this list and I feel a little tired, to be honest with you, just how much everyone is doing. And so I encourage you, if you see those signs, I was at the Vets earlier today, Vets Memorial Building, and across the street is our banner for our pop-up activity. So if you see those, feel free to swing by. Introduce yourself to the staff if they're not playing, kickball or something along those lines. But definitely have a lot going on. We have 3 new martial arts programs starting. We have Aikido, Kendo, and Karate. We're continuing with basketball, volleyball, softball, and then Commissioner Velasco discussed some of the play activities that we assist with, and that's the turkey trot coming up. So we're planning for that. It's a nice little 5K fun run around Jim May Park. We have also, for the first time, Battle of the Badges, where we're working with the police and fire to do a softball tournament. So they'll play the lead game, and then we'll open it up for other co-ed teams to have a regular one-day tournament. At the ranch, we have a lot going on as well. We're looking at having archery back. Twilight mountain bike ride coming up, a great solar cooking program. Check out our Instagram and Facebook page for that advertisement. We are giving away some s'mores kits, so check that out, but you do have a project you have to complete first. We, of course, the patch, and then Ride 3, which is our ATV safety program, teaching teens and young adults how to ride ATVs safely. That was all funded primarily through a grant, the OHV program of California State Parks and Rec. After we had a couple years of deaths at Pismo, it was time to teach people how to ride those OHVs. We also just received notice that they have an intent to award some additional funding to us to provide larger ATVs for our bigger kids. So we're looking for some larger ATVs to add to that fleet. And then the special events coming up, our one-day events is our Dia de los Muertos. We'll be having that again. It's going to be from 12 to 4. It'll be all outside this year at the Vets Memorial Building. The car show, right now I have November 6th. It's changed once or twice and locations once or twice. So I look to Commissioner Molina as he's sitting on that committee. But right now we're looking at having it at the Town Center West shopping complex. So that's a nice one-day car show. It'll be a fundraiser for Play Inc. as well. Our last concert of the season is going to be taking place on the 26th at Aquistapache Park. It is stepping out, so we do anticipate there to be a large number of people. The numbers have been up and down this year. I think people are still a little nervous about going out and being in a group, but then I have a feeling with a band like Stepping Out, everyone's going to forget that because they usually pack the house. So. And then, of course, we have the tree lighting coming up in December, so we're getting ready for that as well, making all of our, I know that we'll be working with Brett and Scott to make sure that all the lights are working, as well as getting the street pole decorations ready to hang as well. So there is a lot going on, and we have so much more for the next year as well. To piggyback on Alex's comment about the DEI, we at CPRS, our conference in Bealton, which I invited you all to, that will be the major point of discussion that day as well, is how to be more inclusive in our programming. Also a little bit about grant writing and some great keynote speakers. So again, I have submitted our invitation, or our registration, but there's still time. So if you decide you want to go, please let me know. And that's my report,
Good question.
please.
How is the child chosen to light the Christmas tree for campus?
Yeah, we work with the cancer, Hope Cancer Center, and they help us pick.
Okay, because we have a little local girl that's, just finished her chemo at Stanford.
I'll touch base with you.
That if,
Sure,
okay.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I'd just like to thank Dennis and the city Parks and Rec Commission. We were able to start our first high school league season here with the help with getting fields here at Alex. So currently we have 6 teams, and they're all high school age boys. And they play Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday right here at Alex Field. And it's incredible to see all these high school boys that came out from all of our local schools. And we're getting more and more each day that we already did the schedule. We're trying to hold it back, but we're going to continue for 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks, Dennis?
I think so.
And so with the help of Dennis and Brett and Park Diego, the Parks and Rec, we were able to put that league together that they've been asking for a long time. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I have a question I'm just curious about. With the COVID still being such a big concern, do we have vaccinations going on at our events?
That's a great question. We were approached by the county health department to offer those at our concerts. It's happened at the 2 concerts in August. Actually, the second one they ended up canceling due to staffing shortage, which, as we know, is all around the city. And then they don't have another one scheduled with us in September, though. But I do see them doing smaller pop-up events more and more through town. So we offer it. I don't know what the numbers look like, though. I can follow up with that data if that's an interest.
And they have approved the age 12 through up, 12 and up, right?
That's what I heard last, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Since we were talking about Simons and Elks, I just want to bring everybody up to date on kind of an issue that we're having out there, and that's the lighting. There's a number of lights that are out. We asked one of our electricians that we work with to give us an assessment of, changing the lights. And he said, time out, I can't do that. And the reason is, we're seeing some equipment failures that are, inside of the lights themselves and the harness and the wires. And so I asked him to give me a little bit more detail on that. And so we're going to meet him out there and review that lighting issue a little bit more. But essentially the wiring, the harnesses, the components are at the end of their life. And it's about $1 million project to replace all the lights out there. And so we're going to dust off the scope of work on that and see if we can tighten that up and save some money there. But we're looking at a major issue out there. So I just wanted to bring everybody, let you know we're going to be looking at it and then figuring out what our options are. But it's a big project. It looks like it's going to be coming down the pike here soon, or a disruption in service. So,
Brett, I'm sure you've thought of it, but just as a reminder, that's a great time to look into the solar opportunities for future consideration.
yeah, Dennis and I are always talking about that. We're trying to figure out how we can convert, our pool over to heat pumps. If we can get off with natural gas and go on to heat pumps that are, fueled by solar. It's really just a real estate problem. But
Thank you.
yeah. On to other items. Our parks crew, it's been a little bit more routine work this last month, and because we've been coming off of some projects, and so some trimming and edging and more specifically wood chips in playgrounds and things like that have, this is the time of year that we do wood chips. We have a new budget. We typically order wood chips, and we do spread those around to all the playgrounds and make sure that everything's detailed out. So we've been doing things like that over the last few weeks and trying to catch up on some of the work we put off due to some of the projects that we've been working on the park side. not to say that we haven't completed projects, but, you know, the Oakley Park, we put a lot of work into that, and also out at Westgate, we renovated those fields as well. And so happy to see the results of that. We're working on some drought on the special district side. We're working on some drought tolerant landscaping renovations. You may have seen the news story on that last week. And that's just a measure to save money and save water. It's a win-win for us, really. And then New Love received a little bit of landscaping. We did some work out there this last week, and so that's looking a little bit sharper. New trees out at Oakley. We're going to be planting more trees at that park as well. We have to run a little bit of irrigation to do that in some areas. In some areas we don't. We can just plant the trees. It was part of the original project, grant-funded project to plant some trees. We didn't quite have enough money to do that, so now we're getting around to completing that, and it'll help that park out a lot. And then we're also going to be resurfacing the basketball court, which is happening today and will be completed tomorrow. And so the basketball court will be nice and repainted and refreshed and going to be looking sharp. And then our work out at the basins on Enos and Inger off of Miller are complete. So, you know, it's looking a lot better. Relatively low cost upgrades for us to do. It was just correcting some irrigation issues that were from the past. And so our crew came up with an idea to fix that and fix it inexpensively as opposed to an expensive fix. And so proud of them for doing that. And then and just a couple other things here and there. I mean, we had the parade as well, so that sucked up a lot of our guys' resources for about 2 weeks to prepare and then, you know, take down everything and all that. So, and then on top of COVID, you know, people have been out because of COVID too. So, been a challenging couple of weeks for us. So, on to some capital projects. Just a couple of brief updates. Chapel Plaza, we should be out to bid in a week or two. I'm hoping 2 weeks. It's in Public Works realm right now. There was some late to the game comments on some public infrastructure on street lighting. We didn't have those comments, and they produced the comments, and so then we had to make another revision post-permit. So we already have our permit, we already have our easement, and the easement has been recorded. So we have everything in place to do the project. And then we got some comments on the street lights. So we're, of course, going to accommodate that. And nonetheless, the last I spoke with Public Works, it was 2 weeks. So after that, I've updated the dates as to when I think we'll be able to get this thing under construction. It's looking later this year, early next year. Prescott Trailhead, we put that one into the project tracking and work with Public Works on next steps. Our goal there is to avoid a lengthy permitting process and try to keep the project small enough to where we can do the work that we want to do without ticking the bigger boxes and creating more work for ourselves. So more to report on that next month likely. Veterans Memorial, the plan submittal plans have been submitted for hopefully the final plan check. So that's, you know, one more month, 6 weeks away from hopefully from a permit, and then we move through the bidding process and onto construction. So that's very exciting. Smith Enos, we're going to have final sets of plans on the building. On the entire project, we'll have final sets of plans ready for first submittal by the end of the month is what I'm tracking, and those will be submitted. And then we have the crown molding to start on the exterior of the house. We just don't have the labor. So crown molding, roof, and the windows have been ordered as well. They're going to be a more historical look of window. Those have been ordered. You know, there are just massive COVID delays with window manufacturers. We're still thinking that we can get them this month, but that's the critical path. In order to start that project, we need the windows. So as soon as we get those, we'll be able to do the windows, molding, trim, get the roof done, and paint on the exterior. So working on that. And then, let's see. Presker Park Trail and irrigation, we are working through design, almost complete with design on that. We're waiting on the surveyor. That'll go to County Environmental Health. We're not quite sure of the regulatory game on this one yet because of the county, they're involved in their involvement with the closed landfill. So I'm having discussions with utilities to navigate that and move that forward as fast as possible. And then Rodenberger Playground is complete with the exception of the tile, and they're not going to be able to complete that until the end of October, unfortunately. So we're just waiting on the fall protection surface. But otherwise, it's complete. You can go take a look at it. There's nice concrete there, and it's ready to go. Just gotta wait. So it's pretty much all the updates that I have. And just the tree ordinance. We did submit our tree ordinance draft to the city attorney's office, and I received some comments back from them, which we'll discuss at our next tree committee meeting or environmental committee meeting. And no word yet on the tree grant from CAL FIRE. So, any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
A while ago, Brett, you were evaluating the pros and cons between creating some perhaps skilled trades mechanic positions where we could do things in-house versus contracting out always. Have you reached any?
Yeah, we'll have a report that'll go to for the new budget to essentially in-house some of the cleaning that we do in our bathrooms. And that reminds me, thank you, we are moving forward with repainting several of our bathrooms. Some of them have already been completed. We reopened Presker North, and then about a week after we reopened it, someone went in there with a sledgehammer and took out the toilets. So we're going to put in steel ones, $4,000, but we don't have a choice. This is, I think, the fifth or sixth toilet that we've put back. So, and it had all nicely repainted and cleaned up. So it's frustrating for the community, and that, you know, they get frustrated and tell our people why the bathroom's closed. They got smashed. So trying to do it differently, but we are going to move forward with repainting a lot of other parks restrooms. So you'll see new flooring, new paint, epoxy paint on the floor and on the walls over the next month or two. That'll be contracted.
Thank you, Brett. You ready to move on to commissioners' reports? Anyone? Rebecca, you want to start?
Oh, sure. I'm trying to remember. I actually have a couple questions. The Jim May Park electrical box and gazebo, it's all, I'm there every day, and every day it's open, and every day I close it, thinking it must not have power to it, or is that correct? Because it scares me, because some, kid could walk up.
It shouldn't have power, but
Okay.
we'll go check it.
Just
So
FYI.
I will make a note of that. I'll give you a checker, and you can make sure it's off for me. But it should be off.
Okay.
And if it's not, then we'll make sure that it is.
Another, speaking of there too, the last couple weeks, there's been barbecues there. And I've noticed trucks pull in to unload their stuff. They get onto the lawn. It makes me crazy. And I don't see.
They drive onto the lawn?
Yeah, they drive. They go up the curb and do it. And the one the other day was really bad because they had about 4 preteen kids that could have just each carried something, and that would have been it. So I don't know. Can we?
So what we've done at other parks is put in a split rail fence, or we had that issue at Westgate, and we put in the split rail fence. It's now time for that split rail fence to be replaced, so we're going to be replacing that, but that's maybe a solution, or
Yeah,
rocks or
just
something
saying,
like that,
2
some
weeks
sort
in
of
a row,
barrier.
I thought, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, thank
must
you.
be
Yeah,
a
well,
thing.
because it damages our,
Yeah.
irrigation and all kinds of stuff.
Okay, still at Jim A. Park. People feed the ducks the bread. I always pick up the bread wrappers. Do we have signs that say, please don't feed bread to the ducks because it's bad?
I don't
for
believe we
the
do.
health? Huh?
I don't believe we do.
Okay, we'll just, okay. So those were actually community things, but last month we did the environmental justice Zoom meeting, and we're still doing environmental justice Zooms with the Tree Alliance, which we're really fortunate to be a part of. You guys, the all meeting for all the recreation and parks people was really great, and there was some really good pancakes. FYI.
No burritos?
Big pancakes, and everything was really nice. Our environmental meeting we had, and then yesterday, we're starting up the Mayor's Youth Task Force meetings at the high schools, and there were 2 high school meetings yesterday, Santa Maria and Pioneer Valley, and we're doing some college tours this fall, at least 2 full ones. One will be a couple days, maybe 3 days, and then we have maybe a day trip or 2. But that's coming, and it's kind of cool, just to engage the kids. It just seems like we're empowering them, and things they didn't realize that they had at their fingertips, and it's just a really great opportunity, and I'm really grateful that we can do it, and that I get to be a part of it. But that's what we're doing. So I'll give you updates on that because it's really fun, and it's such a great thing. So anyway, that's it.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to add to what Rebecca was saying about the Tree Alliance Zoom meetings. The thing that I have I'm really happy that we are doing those, and but especially because it's kind of opened my mind to the equity issue and how to go about, setting up the interaction between the community and us so we can solve some of those equity problems. So it's been very informative, so thank you for...
It is, and just let me add to that, in meeting people from all over the country.
Yes.
It's been, and being on, calls with them and sharing what we're doing and what they're doing,
and they all have the same problems.
Identical, no matter where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been very, very good.
A woman I spoke with the other day, she was in Kentucky, and they have a trees of, it's a county thing, but they do trees of there. I just want to remind everybody, we do have trees of Santa Maria. If you haven't checked it out, give us a like, because we're creeping up. And there's new trees all the time. Anyway, that's it. I'm sorry.
I just thought it's curious. I noticed more of the crepe myrtles are blooming. That's usually a hot weather tree, and we're starting to get more in Santa Maria. I love it. It's so colorful.
Yeah, they do well.
Wonderful.
They're different here. My son lives in LA, and the one in front of his apartment building where it's 99 degrees today is way prettier than the ones we have up here, because they really do love the heat.
And they bloom earlier and longer.
And longer.
Some of the best ones we had were the ones growing under the power lines that PG&E wanted to cut down. But we saved them.
Oh, no.
Saved them.
That's sad. Any other comments?
I'd just like to say, the parade a couple of weeks ago there wasn't that many people. They had trees and stuff like that, but it was a beautiful parade. We had our group in it. I think we're number 27. I think there was only like 100 or so. I don't know how many there were. It went pretty quick, but it was a beautiful day out there. The parade, it came out nice, well organized. I thought it was a great job that happened that day, that parade. I was glad that it went off, you know. So and I think a lot of people were, it just was Labor Day weekend and all that good stuff. But I think that was a good thing for the city that we put that on, you know.
Yeah, I think the Elks, you know, really, their focus was to try to get back to something, and so that was kind of their goal. I agree, I think the timing was just not good. But, you know, next year they'll be back in their June time slot, so hopefully it'll go well.
It was nice. I mean, it wasn't big. I mean, we zoomed right through it. You know, and I tried to walk it, but the trucks were going too fast, so I had to get by. But it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. It's good to see that our city coming back a little bit on little things like that. You know, things are turning around.
Okay, moving on. Does anyone have any other things to bring up before we adjourn? Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.